All right, before we move into the knowledge questions in your portfolio of evidence, I just want to explain something about the next section. So there's something called a supply chain. So we've looked at a value chain, and the value chain is how things work within our organization. A supply chain shows how things come into our business and how things go out of our business. So very similar to a value chain, except a value chain is normally linear and a supply chain is normally circular. And so take a look at this diagram and hopefully it gives you a little bit more insight. All right, so customers develop a demand. Okay, so customers need something from you. You go out somewhere in procurement, who is a support function. They will bring raw materials into the business. So let's say it's bread. Okay, so you've got flour, you've got water. If it's a fancy bread, you'll have either milk or eggs. And so it comes in there. Then it goes through logistics. So the raw materials are taken to the supplier. The supplier then through logistics takes it to the manufacturer. Let's say you are the bread manufacturer. So we then turn the bread, turn the flour, the milk, the yeast, the eggs into something that is edible and nice and wonderful and package it. And then we send it out to the distributor. The distributor then takes it to the engine one stop or to the corner cafe, and then it then gets taken to, there we go, the corner cafe or the engine one stops, and then the customer or the consumer is going to buy it from there. Okay, so normally the logistics is their own vehicle coming to the retailer, and then they create the demand again for more of your bread because it is so fantastic. So this is a supply chain. It keeps on turning, and you've got to make sure that there's no bottlenecks along the supply chain. Otherwise, your consumer's not going to get what they want. There's going to be issues with stock, and that's going to be a problem. Also, you need to maintain control of the pricing throughout this whole supply chain. So it's an important model, and you're going to be looking at your own supply chain when we start to go to those questions. So let's go to our portfolios of evidence. We're going to be working on our knowledge questions, and we're starting with question 4, and we're going to be working our way through to question 9. So most of this you've taken a look at already through the different exercises that you have done. So let's go to our portfolio of evidence, which is our yellow book, and that's our workbook, and this is our portfolio of evidence. So it's on page, let's go to the bottom, 43. Okay, so if you go to page 43 in your yellow book, your portfolio of evidence, you're going to be able to fill in the questions now. So question 4 says, what is the product or service supplied? So think about your own unit. What product or service do you provide to the rest of the organization? Then who is the customer? Okay, so let's say it's attendance registers. Who is the customer? HR, what are their expectations? That it is brought in weekly. How often do you meet their expectations? Well, 95%. Great. What else do you supply? Well, we supply the components. Who is the customer? Line number 7, what are their expectations? That they get it according to the job card. How often do you meet their expectations? 98%. So you are going to look at all the things that you provide from your unit, from your team, or your department. Who is the customer for what is given? What are their expectations, and how often do you meet their expectations? Okay, so that's question 4. Question 5 is all about the supply chain. So there we go. That is a supply chain, and this one is moving anti-clockwise, which really throws me. You can do it obviously counterclockwise or clockwise. It's up to you. But you're going to draw your own supply chain here. So I want to see what your company looks like, how your supply chain works. Okay, so there's first and foremost is the customer who has the demand. From that point, what starts? Is it raw materials? Great. Raw materials then goes to a distributor to the manufacturer do all the way so that the customer gets what they want. Okay, so you're going to show me your own supply chain. Great. Question 6. Remember we did that table in the previous exercise. Who are your internal customers? You can tell me, who are my internal customers? Who are your external customers? Tell me about your external customers. It might be Mrs. Lewis. It could be Bayer and Company. It could be Johnson Services. Tell me who are your external customers that buy your product or service. Okay, then question 8. What I want you to do again, who is your customer? So it could be Lewis Stores, it could be Bayers and Company, Johnson and Johnson, it could be HR, finance, and what products or services do you give? So it could be internal or external customers. So who do you give things to and what do you give to them? Okay, that's question number 8. Last one is question number 9. So in terms of your KPIs, your KPAs, so what key performance areas do you have? Okay, so production, quality, documentation. So tell me about what are the key performance areas in your job description or in your role. At what standard do you have to do it? And who is your customer for that activity? So let's say to do a quality control checklist. Okay, quality control checklist. To what standard? It needs to be done per job. Who is the customer for this activity? Either the production manager or the quality control manager. So there we go. Key performance area. All right, to ensure production according to targets. To what standard? As per the daily job card. Who is your customer for this activity? The shift manager or the production manager. So you're going to just list 5 key performance areas that you have, what standards you are held to, and who is that customer for that activity. All right. So that's going to be question 4 to question 9. And once you've done that, then we will move on. So if you have any problems, again, WhatsApp me, or even if you need to do a Zoom call, just send me all the details and I will engage with you. All right. Thank you.